you got big dreams and bad genes, you are in the right place. Bromley shirts are available at barbellapparel.com. Link is in the description. This feels like an Arnold classic that we have not seen in a very long time. And I want to know if you have the same sense about the talent there, or if it just kind of all bleeds together for you. And Austin himself was saying that it feels like it's back in the day when you had like Thor at his peak and Zydrunas and, you know, the overlap of like the biggest guys in the field where there was quite a bit of uncertainty, even if you knew who kind of the best guy in the world was. I mean, I'm looking at the list. I mean, it's you, it's Thor, it's Trey, who's just big as shit right now and looks like he's on a tear. Kielszkowski, Hatton, who is a mutant, just doing insane things. And people that have been, and I mean, Singleton's looking ridiculous. Stoltman, like the list of people is kind of bananas. Do you feel any of that pressure, or do you feel confident enough about where you fall on that list?
Yeah, look, to just... I'll just be honest. It's just me. I've won 8 of the last 9 shows, and I've beat all these dudes on a regular basis. So yes, it feels like a really stacked lineup when you look at it on paper, and you know it is a deep field of athletes. I think this is probably the deepest strongman fields in terms of not this show, but generally speaking, that's ever existed. And that's a reflection of the popularity of the sport, I think. But if we look at last year's Arnold's, there was so much noise about how Thor's coming back full force. Alexi's now injury-free and back full force. Martins is back and he's going to win it. Tom Stoltman is never going to perform poorly at an Arnold again. And Kielszkowski is not injured now. And then you got Mitch, who's trying to defend his title. And it was the exact same conversation last year. And last year I won by the largest margin of victory in Arnold history. So, is that a guarantee this year? Of course not. It's not a guarantee that I win. There's no guarantees in the sport until you lift the weight. That being said, I know that of all the guys who could do really well, there's going to be some percentage of them that turn up actually ready. And then there's going to be a percentage of those guys who turn up and actually execute. And after day one, you're going to see, okay, there are a few guys in contention to win. There are a couple of guys in contention to squeeze onto the podium. Cool, that's it. That's how these shows tend to work out. Could it be some dogfight with 5 people? Maybe in a strongman fan's hypothetical, beautiful world. But I don't think it's going to turn out that way. The one thing that I can that we can probably agree on, based on the history of the last 12 months, 24 months, Mitch Hooper will show up ready, and whoever else shows up ready will be along with me. And that's great. And I hope that's everyone. I hope everyone's in good shape. I hope we have a fight. I hope that we get the best out of each other. But ultimately, everyone can't come and have their best day. So I'm just in my lane. I'm focusing on my stuff. I'm confident that if I go and I do what I know I can do, I don't think that I can be beat right now. That being said, I don't think I'm immune to mistakes. I don't think I'm immune to injury. I don't think I'm immune to just throwing the log up and misgrooving it or whatever it may be. And I think I'm the only person in the field who can go in with that confidence, and I think that's a major advantage to me. And I'm not speaking to you because you agree with me on everything, so I'm happy to hear any counterpoint to that. But to me, that's how I read it.
So, I mean, I do agree with you. I mean, I even said I had to put my foot in my mouth because before Worlds, I was like, just give it to, that was the thumbnail. I think it was just give it to Mitch. And that was on the back, that was on the back end of other, criticisms I've made or whatever. Yeah. And after, and you're right, anything can happen, and in a long enough career, it obviously will. And that's almost more interesting to me. It's not just that somebody wins because they're good. It's that they win without having a mistake, because mistakes happen. Anybody can be caught blinking. I do think you're going to be on top. I mean, I looked at your predictions. I mean, I'll run through them really quick. The video you put out, just ping pong off of it and then go in a little deeper. But you have the max elephant bar deadlift. Everybody's talking about a 501 raw from Thor. Maybe he'll be good for it. I don't quite think he's there. It would be amazing to see, but we'll see. But you have Thor winning that, Trey right behind you in the mix, probably around third. Overhead gauntlet, stone to dumbbell to log. You mentioned everybody or a bunch of people missed a stone last time, which was bizarre. I was surprised to see.
Yeah.
Was there something different about that stone, by the way? Was there?
No, I don't. I don't know. There's nothing different about that stone to me. It didn't feel
Like it felt
that
good to you, right?
felt fine. Yeah, it felt
Okay.
fine. I'm really not sure.
Okay, so it's just I think it's awkward. Maybe people get disoriented on a stage. I don't know, but it was weird to see that many people struggle. But you have the overhead gauntlet. Kilshkowski's a monster. You, Hatton, monster overhead, probably top three.
Yep.
Makes sense. Sound reasoning. Of course, people can wedge in there. Frame carry, the fastest guys. You, Thor, Kilshkowski, Maxime. Like you're in the mix on everything. And that's why it's kind of become a phrase. You hoopered it. You place top three in everything, and that's infinitely more important than how many first places you have or whatever. You got the Timber Trial, which will be interesting, but the best carriers, you, Stoltman, Thor, Kilshkowski, Atlas Stone to Shoulder. No Tacky, that's interesting. Stoltman, Trey, Kilshkowski, and you. And it's like, yeah, you're at the top of all those. The big jerk for Max, this is one thing I'm interested in. What's your projection, if you had to guess, the heaviest weight we're going to see? Because we got, I want to say today, Singleton posted a 550. You got Trey doing like jumps with like 700 pounds. Like the weight's going to get stupid. Do you think it's going to hover around the mid fives, or do you think anybody's going to break out?
Yeah, I think so. I think mid fives, 550 to 565 is probably what's going to win the event. There's a couple of details, and guys can listen to me if they want to or not. A lot of guys are working off of power bars. We're using an Olympic bar. That is not going to feel the same. Your dip and drive is going to be dramatically different. We've seen a lot of incredible performances on Instagram before that don't shake out to be true. That's something I pride myself on is I show you basically what I'm going to do in the show. You can count on that. Yeah, it's, I'm impressed with how many guys are getting up past where I thought they would. If we look at the Flintstone lift at World's Strongest Man, we had all of the field except for 3 out at 213. And now it feels like a 210 is sort of like, cool, you came 7th or 8th. Ultimately on this, I think if you want to get really good points, you're talking probably at the 240 mark. And if you want to win the event, I think max lift is 255 to 260, right in that 560 range. And I'll be capable of that. Will I execute it? TBD. I think Lucas Hatton will be capable of that as well. But to think that much more than that is going up with a push press I think that's dreaming.
I'm inclined to agree with that. And you've seen, the best Olympic lifters in the world. I don't think I've ever seen anything over a 600. So to bridge that gap was going to require a lot of strength, but also enough technique that probably a lot of guys don't necessarily have or train for.
Yeah.
You've mentioned a couple times, which I love because I think I can read in between the lines a little bit. The people that may or may not come in ready, of the people that come, a certain percentage are gonna do what they say. A lot of people, you've said in the past, like to talk about winning, and then coming in and executing tends to be a different story. Do you find there's kind of a consistent group of people where you can kind of pinpoint that the rabble on Instagram is a little bit different than what you get on the contest show? Or do you just see a general kind of trend where you just tend to be more consistent than the field as a whole?
The best way that I could put it is the more times you hear someone saying how they're coming to win and going to smash everyone, the less likely that it is. Say like a Trey and Mateusz. When they post something on social media, it's something once every 3 weeks where you look and you're just like, oh, what just happened there? Yeah, okay, I know that's legit. But if you can sort of tell when things are being cherry picked, and I take all of it with a total grain of salt now. Without saying names, I know certain people will say that they're ready and they're not. Certain people will say that, watch out, it's a whole new version, and it's just not. And maybe one day it will be, but how many times can you cry wolf before, like, okay,
Yeah.
I'd say, and look, Tom has the capability to beat me. Of course, he beat me last year, but he also made a whole highlight reel about how good I am and how different it's going to be before the Rogue Invitational. It was the same. You know, it's the same. And how many times am I going to go through people calling me out, either directly or indirectly, and then the same thing happens before I go like, okay, I'm just not going to listen to this. I just don't care. I know you're going to say this, so whatever.
Yeah. And I'm not going to corner you into naming names, but I will. Singleton is probably the worst offender when it comes to beating his chest about what he's coming for, and he's a threat in a lot of ways, but he's very aggressive on that. And I can't go hard on Singleton anymore. He came up and fist bumped me during what is arguably the lowest of my strongman career on the yoke walk at OSG, where I was at my most vulnerable. And he seems like a really good dude. He is strong as all hell. And it's like the contest on top of the contest. Like, you can train, you can grow, you can adapt to the events, you can turn yourself into an absolute steam engine. But can you transfer that onto a stage on a set timeline with these specific implements, with a crowd watching, with judges, with a proper peak where you're not fatigued from all the crazy shit you did in training? And that's an interesting inside take that you gave, as far as the consistency of certain people just not really coming in and putting it together. Because if you are watching everybody on IG, you don't know that. You don't see it. You have your whole different other conspiracy theories as to why your favorite guy did or didn't do what they did, because, well, 2 weeks ago he was doing X, Y, or Z. And it's like, yeah, well, that's not the sport now, is it? It's a very different animal.
Yeah, and look, Evan fits the description of what I was talking about. But Evan, there's an additional layer of, you never know what is Evan the actual dude and what's Evan the character that he's playing for everyone. So really? He is a great dude. He 100%, like, he is. He's not the heel that he portrays himself to be.
I had a feeling. I mean, it was heel behavior. I think I used that term at some point. But yeah, it's hard to know when people are really being performative, or if that's who they are, or if that's a deliberate thing, and it works. I mean, as that type of WWE kayfabe, like, I think it does work. And it's one of the reasons I don't feel quite as bad when I talk shit, because it is such a, I mean, it's like Kazmaier in his heyday. Like, I talk shit about Kazmaier now. I mean, back in the day, I would have loved to hate him. And I think that does a lot for the sport. And speaking of Kazmaier, I mean, yeah, you might have had a big gap at the Arnold, but was it 28 points? Because that was Kazmaier's gap, and unbeatable, unbeatable as point gap.
World's Strongest Man.
Yeah,
mental, absolutely mental.
his favorite thing to tell people. Anyways, so okay, last little bit, we got through the Arnold. We listed off the events one by one. Mitch is confident, it looks like, that we're going to have another Arnold victory, which I don't think anybody here is going to be surprised. How do you feel at this point in your prep? Do you feel ready to go? Everything's going exactly like it should?
Yeah, it's funny, actually. I've had one bad session all prep, and of course it was live streamed. It's in the thread of my life not being catered to how to be the best strongman all of the time. I'll do some part sessions down in my basement and some part sessions at the gym. And so, like, my program, I do it all during the week, but how it shakes out is sort of variable. So I had my 4th overhead day in a row, and I was hitting big split jerks 3 days ago. So my tricep tendons were sore, and I just didn't have like a power to lock it out. And so it looked horrible. I'm not concerned about it, but just like, of course. But my torn bicep, totally cool. Very frustrating. I just had a heavy single stone to shoulder programs, and I was just feeling it out and seeing where I could get to with just chalk on stones that have never had tacky on them, which is a new pet peeve of mine that I've realized. I was down in LA and I was doing stones, and it was no tacky stones. And I'm doing the stone, and there was tacky all over it. So it was super sticky. And so now I realize that when people go chalk only stone, unless that stone has never been touched with tacky, stop talking to me about chalk only. So anyway, no tacky's ever touched these stones. I did 120 kilo, 265, no problem, great. I did 160 kilo, 300, and I think that's 350. Anyway,
I'm sorry, what, 120?
160?
160, 352?
350. I did that, no problem, great. And then I got to the 180, which is just shy of 400. I lapped it, no problem. And I went to extend. I had like this like silky muscle shirt on, and like the stone just started spinning on it, or I would have had it. Damn it. But yeah, like my split jerks are getting much better and much more technically proficient. My stone to shoulder, that's a sneaky good event for me, which like maybe there's no sneakiness left about me being good at an event, but like I really enjoy that more so than loading Atlas stones. The timber trial, I've done stuff, or sorry, the frame carry, I've done grip feats that I've never been able to do before. I've hit the Thomas inch now on my left and my right. I've held 400 kilos in my hands for 10 seconds on a frame that I was never able to do it before. Everything's pointing towards the best performance I've ever had on that. I went through the overhead medley a couple of days ago and did 2 reps on the stone instead of a dumbbell and a stone, because I find that takes more breath out of me, so I want to hammer that a bit harder. I was able to get 2 reps on the log after that at comp weight. And so I think like 3 reps on the log is definitely on the cards for me. My deadlifts are off the charts right now. Well, off of my charts on Thor's charts, but on short rest, I hit a 220 or 422 kilo pull. I'll be over 1,000 pounds on the elephant bar, no doubt. And so you put all those things together of what I can do, and it reverts me back to I am in every place I need to be able to win the show. I just need to execute, keep my head on straight and whatnot. And, you know, honestly, in my deepest, darkest thoughts, when I'm alone by myself, do I always think like, okay, obviously I got it. Yeah, it's just what I do. No, I sit there and I'm convincing myself, okay, you are Mitch Hooper, and that means that you have done this and you have won this many shows and you always keep your head on and you always execute. So this is just what you do. Stop thinking about it. There's a fair amount of internal battles going on that no one else would see. But it's my job for no one else to see them for the most part.